So the corset is on, and I hope you can hear me from this distance. The corset is on, and I've actually just eaten dinner, and it does feel a little uncomfortable over my stomach, just because my stomach is quite full. So ideally, if I would have been planning ahead, I wouldn't have put on the corset straight after eating dinner, okay? So it looks like I have a little bit of room underneath the hip gores, so I could probably like pad that out a little bit if I wanted. And then in the chest is actually the biggest problem. So I don't have a very full chest, so my regular modern bra size, which has nothing to do with sizing or corsetry, is a 44D. So I don't have that large of a chest, especially when it comes to my chest to waist to hip ratio. I have a pretty small chest. So I don't know if it has to do with this technically being a wearable mock-up that I made, because that's technically what this is. I think I might try and just, you know, cut corners and use it as a corset anyways, until I get to the point where I can make another one. But while I don't hate it, I certainly do like it. I do like the shape that it does give me. So going back to the bust gores, I think that if I took out even one bust gore, or even narrowed them down, that the chest would actually fit better. Now I may just have to put a little bit more boning, like right here in the side boob, area. Let me step over the cat and get a little closer here. I may have to put a little bit more boning here in the side, but it just seems like even though I readjust myself, that it doesn't really seem to help or make me feel as though the corset is giving me that much structure or stability in the chest area. So I think I have seen a corset, an 1850s corset, and I'll have to do the research on it, where they had taken like a drawstring, and they had put it from side seam to side seam and did a drawstring around the top cup, and then it did like a little drawstring here to where you can tighten the cup just a little bit, and that literally is all it really needs. A teeny bit of like a gather and it would actually fit a little bit more securely than how I feel in it at the moment. So to me, it just feels like the bust cups are just way too open and like tipped forward. So I would kind of like them almost cupped up a little bit more. But I don't really know how to fix that now that I'm this far into the, well, I guess I should say that I'm finished with the creation process, but I don't know, like I've never done inserted bust gores like that. I almost kind of wish or wonder what it would look like if I've only done one bust gore. I mean, I cut out the pattern according to my size, but didn't do anything according to my chest measurement, and I didn't do a mock-up of this beforehand. So this really is my wearable muslin. So for the hips, I do have a little bit of like space, especially like right here underneath the hips, that is not me. Like I don't have that space under the hips, so I would just be totally happy with padding that up a little bit. And in the back, the hips are fine, like they're pretty snug, and the gaping is a little bit more than I would like, but you know, it is what it is. So now a few little things that I notice about this corset that probably nobody else would is the bust is actually not straight, and I have no idea how I got that off. Other than that, I am happy with the work that I did. I do wish that my work had been a little bit more neat perhaps and quality when having done this corset, but I am hoping to be able to squeak by and use this as the foundational garments for future projects. If I can get the chest area right here to just gather in ever so slightly, like literally just crush in a teeny bit, and it would help to fill out the, or kind of cup in the corset a little bit more, because I just don't have that much to put in the corset. And I may have to try and get the back a little bit tighter, which may tighten up like the side boob sort of area, and that may actually sort of take care of the problem, but it's just a little bit a teeny bit off. So yeah, like I am happy with the job that I have done. It's just that, let me go back to the back here. The opening is not ideal. So the lacing opening is not ideal. I would prefer it to be straight up and down and a little bit narrower, but I didn't end up sizing up the corset in any way. I just went straight with the pattern, straight pattern, right into creating and making the corset. So overall, like, having not done a mock-up beforehand and doing very little pre-prep or guesswork, you know, basically just going straight into the corset project, I am happy with what has turned out, considering, you know, I was taking an awful risk and just going straight into the project. The biggest thing, even though the bust is crooked, even though the lacing gap is not ideal, even though the hip, you know, right here is a little bit too large, which I will pad out later and I will update you, or I will do a separate video on the padding. I would say that my biggest worry or problem with the corset is that just the very top of the cups. I could try and do some sort of underneath my flesh or actual breast, some sort of like filler to help boost up perhaps the corset, because there is like literally no mounded cleavage. Like, it is just all straight down and it makes me look really flat chested. So I literally have no like chest support in the corset. So it's hard to tell with this black dress on, but I would say that that is my biggest problem or insecurity with the corset, is that the corset probably isn't tall enough and it doesn't really cup in. So perhaps my gores should have been smaller, the spacing between the gores maybe should have been a little bit narrower, perhaps only one gore with the size of my chest, but I don't know. I am not upset that this corset turned out the way it has. I will certainly use it. I will certainly do my research to try and fix it. I don't have anything immediately on the cork board or on the table to make a costume to go with this, but it is soon on my costuming list to make stuff to go over this corset. But starting with the foundations is of course the most important thing, and starting with the corset, in my opinion, is of the utmost importance. I can then make all the under or next to skin layers to go under this, but I have to have my corset first. Like, that is just my rule, that I have to have a corset first, and then I go for the undergarments and then the outer garments. So here we go. One last look of the corset. Alright, so there we go. Thanks so much for watching the final installment of this corset mini-series. I promise this won't be the last you've seen of this corset, but I do want to move into some other things, such as underwear! Yay! Before I can move on to the outerwear, I still have one more Edwardian corset to finish. After that, I think I will be heading into the Edwardian period. I realize I'm a bit late to the party, but oh well. I believe in marching to the beat of my own drum, so please stay tuned for other costuming adventures. Okay, well my cat is snoring, so hopefully you won't hear her.